Hugo Oliveira is a high school dropout who can't stay out of trouble. Leaving the courtroom where he faced assault charges, his dad warned him to be careful. The judge only let him get away with a fine because it was a first offense, which means next time, it's jail. The boy doesn't listen to him and asks about his mother. She couldn't come because she's on a trip. Not happy to hear that, Hugo turns to his default behavior. He gets on his bike, looking for more trouble. This time he has a surprise though. A pretty girl's face poking out of a car window stops him in his tracks. It's love at first sight. Sadly, she doesn't feel the same. Maybe because he's a total stranger. Maybe because his approach is to yell, "Hey ugly," and then try to touch her. Who knows? The girl's name is Babby. She is a wealthy kid in a posh school, and her idea of bad behavior is to cheat on a Latin test. She texts Katina, her best friend, with the correct answer. The teacher suspects their trick and takes Katina's phone. Then she calls the sender, walking around the classroom like a psycho until she gets to Babby's desk and takes her phone too. Later that day, a group of teens are near the abandoned bandstand for some actual mischief. A girl named Mara is talking to a friend about Hugo when he arrives. Not paying much attention to her or to his friend Polo, he goes straight to the bandstand. There is a competition tonight, and it turns out to be a bunch of shirtless boys showing off their muscles. At the same time, Baby is at a birthday party with Donnie, her younger but much wiser sister. While Babby has to put up with her dull boyfriend Chico, Danny is actively searching for some fun. And then the birthday girl says that someone's brother just called to say he's coming with a few friends. The alleged sister is very surprised, especially because she is an only child. When the doorbell rings, a horde of party crashers descend on the place. Two familiar faces are among them, Hugo and Paulo. They're making the most of their chance to ruin a posh party and scare some rich kids. Until Hugo sees Babby, of course. Upstairs, Katina needs something from her purse and ends up catching Paulo red-handed. He just laughs and hands it to her, saying that he'll keep the 50 euros, but can buy her lunch tomorrow. Baby is also having an awkward encounter. Hugo asks if she remembers him. He called her ugly this morning because it's the kind of thing that works with girls like her. She demands to know what that means, and he says she's an uptight little princess, begging for a chance to be naughty. Babby doesn't even blink before throwing her drink right in his face. The boy behind her starts to laugh and regrets that instantly. While all hell is breaking loose inside the house, Hugo picks up Baby like a proper caveman and takes to the pool. She screams in anger over the ruined Valentino, but jumps back in when Hugo says the outfit looks better wet. That's when the police arrive and the gang has to split fast. Driving Baby home, Chico explains why he did nothing when that guy took her like that. This was Chico's plan all along. He had tipped off those hooligans to cut the party short and have some private fun with Babby. And once the mission was accomplished, he just called the cops to get rid of them. Babby is furious at him. She says her friend is devastated about the trashed house and it's all his fault. But never mind all that. The whole gang is right behind them right now. Having realized the double crossing, they vandalize the car until Chico hits the brakes abruptly, almost getting Paulo seriously injured before driving off. When he stops to check the damage to his dad's car, Hugo is still behind him. The two of them start to fight, and Baby panics. Mr. Santamaria, who is a friend of her family, is driving by with his wife. He recognizes the girl and stops to help her. Trying to break up the fight, he gets elbowed in the face and has to be rushed to hospital. Chico also takes the opportunity to get back in the car and simply leaves Baby behind without a second thought. Now it's late, and she's soaking wet in the middle of the road. Not the time to be too picky about that ride home. She has never done this before, so Hugo shows her how to hold on properly, joking about it being her first time. Babby's parents, Rafaela and Claudio, are getting home right in time to catch her with a naughty biker. Luckily for her, Her sister is also arriving, and she even has a naughty biker of her own. They are both grounded now, but Dani declares it was totally worth it. She even recognizes Hugo and knows about his reputation. Ignoring Baby's claims that nothing happened, she is clearly proud of her and her wild date. On the next day, Baby sees Hugo outside the school and immediately starts to yell at him. He explains that he's not even here for her. Paulo's bike is at the repair shop, so he needed a ride to see Katina. Baby says her best friend would never go on a date with a lowlife like that, trying hard to ignore Katina's evident crush on Polo. That night, Hugo has a sad dinner with his dad. A visit to his old bedroom stirs up painful memories of happier days, when Hugo was a straight-A student and had a loving mother. Then, something happened. An incident that got Hugo in trouble with the law and also made him resentful of his family. That was when he moved in with his brother Alex. In the morning, Baby is jogging with Katina, still a bit mad about the other day. She claims to dislike both Hugo and Paulo, but her friend says she'll have to come round sooner or later. Paulo and Katina are dating now. In fact, he invited her to a race tonight, and her mom thinks it's a sleepover at Baby's. Later that day, Rebecca and Claudio have an unpleasant talk with Mr. Santamaria. The man has a broken nose and wants to press charges, so they grind Baby, and she gives them Hugo's name. Dani is upset at this turn of events, but they have something else to worry about now. Katina's mom is calling about an early appointment tomorrow. Baby says she's already sleeping and hangs up, but now she must find Katina. Unsurprisingly, Dani knows all the details about the illegal race downtown, so Baby sneaks out to go there. A touching memorial to departed participants is not the most reassuring thing to see when she arrives. At least she finds Katina right away and gives her the message. Now she can leave that horrid place and return to her comfy bed, except that Hugo is there too. He starts to tease her and ask what a porcelain doll is doing here. To make things worse, Mara shows up and volunteers to be Hugo's race partner, laughing at that poor little girl who would never survive a Siamese race. Obviously, that leaves Baby no choice. She teams up with a single rider and borrows Katina's belt before even knowing what it's for. Imitating the other ladies, she finds out why the race is called the Siamese. The girls ride facing backwards, attached to the boy by the belt only, and with no clue of what's going on ahead. When the race starts, it's easy to see that it's not a fair one, as some of the couples are eliminated in most dramatic ways. When something more serious happens and one of the girls gets hurt, Baby screams for them to stop. The police come, and she almost gets arrested. Hugo saves her in the last minute. He tells her to hide until the cops are gone. When he comes back, she refuses to show herself until he promises not to laugh. So of course he's already laughing. She had fallen in a pile of manure and is completely filthy now. He's sorry to inform that she can't get near the bike in those clothes. The best he can do is to lend his jacket and promise not to look over his shoulder. And he actually keeps the promise. He has the mirror anyway. In the morning, Alex is the first to be hit by the photograph on the front page of the paper, but Hugo couldn't care less. In fact, Paulo helps him to sneak into Baby's bedroom, and he puts up some surprise decoration for her. She tries to take it down, but not too hard. She's not mad at all. Dani is thrilled to see her in a stunning outfit, ready to meet the bad boy. In the club, Mara provokes Hugo about Baby, saying she is an uptight little prude and that he should manage his expectations. Barely listening to her, he says he'll call her some time, which is the worst last line for a date or a job interview. And here comes the other candidate, crossing the dance floor like a recently fallen angel. Hugo walks to her in a trance, and they finally kiss. When Baby gets home, Rafaela is waiting up to catch her. She has seen the paper too, and her first guess is that Baby is being forced to behave this way. She firmly denies that and tells her mom that Hugo is her boyfriend. She gets slapped and her dad steps in, trying to soothe his infuriated wife. Minutes later, Hugo calls her to say he misses her already. She says she's apparently grounded, but he can pick her up at school tomorrow. After class, Katina is happy to hear Baby is waiting for Hugo. She is suddenly sure that today is Baby's D-Day, and she wants all the details afterwards. But not everyone is glad to see her hop on Hugo's bike. Psycho teacher is watching them and making plans. In the street, Hugo sees his mother in a car. She's with that man from the courtroom. Now we find out what really happened. Hugo assaulted this guy when he caught them together for the first time. When his lawyer asked about the circumstances, she could have helped his case but chose to cover up her affair instead. This is why everything changed for him. Thinking about all this, Hugo takes it out on the bike and everything standing in the way. Baby is scared and begs him to stop. He tells her the whole story and says no one else knows. Not his dad, not his brother, not even Polo. Once that's off his chest, they get back to romance mode and enjoy the afternoon together. He even gives her a ring made of recycled material, which in this case is literally just trash. Baby says she used to come here with her family when she was little. She shows him the house she and Danny pretended to be theirs. Later on, Baby and Danny are practicing Rafaela's signature on the absence note. They hide it quickly when she comes to introduce their new neighbor Gustavo, who also happens to be a very suitable son-in-law. She says he's new in town and could use a tour guide. Baby says not tonight. She has plans to go to cinema with the girls. Gustavo can take a hint and leaves, but Rafaela looks frustrated. And of course, there is no cinema at all. Baby is at the bandstand with Hugo and Katina. Mara starts to provoke her about their shared interests, probably thinking she's a rich little girl who can't fight. Baby's foot begs to differ. Polo has to run and get Hugo to make her stop. When Baby is calmer, she says she doesn't know what got into her. She didn't mean to hurt Mara. Hugo is not angry at all. He says ancient warriors used to get a tattoo after their first victory, and that's what she should do now. She does just that and has an H tattooed where Mom won't see, but he surely will. At school, Baby's plan to get off the hook goes very wrong. Psycho teacher says she has just spoken to Rafaela and she's on her way now. She didn't even know Baby was absent last Friday. Faking a parent's signature is punishable with expulsion, as Miss Psycho is delighted to inform the girl. A couple hours later, we see Rafaela dragging her home. It took a huge donation to avoid her expulsion, and now she is grounded until the end of time. She even yells at Katina and calls her a bad influence. Baby spends the day crying until Hugo comes through the window. They sneak out and go to a swimming pool where Paulo and Katina are having fun. Baby joins in after some hesitation, and then she tells Hugo all about her troubles. So he decides to do something about it. Miss Psycho is surprised to see him in her classroom and warns him that other thugs have threatened her before. But Hugo has a magic word to say: Pepito. That's the name of her beloved dog, who has just been kidnapped by Paulo. Pepito will be staying with Alex while the teacher rethinks her attitude. Some time later, Claudio lets Baby sneak out to see Hugo. He takes her to the fantasy house, and they break in. He says now they are the new owners and she is free to live her dream. It's all sweet and nice between them until an afternoon visit goes wrong. Baby is still grounded with no allowance, so she's babysitting. Paulo brings Pepito to play with the kid while she has fun with Hugo. They soon start to hear weird noises and decide to come downstairs. Paulo brought the whole gang to her house. She gets mad at them both and kicks everyone out. Hugo calls her at night, but she doesn't answer. So he leaves a message for her to see on her way to school. Everything is lined up for a reconciliation. Paulo and Katina even help him cook dinner and set up a romantic evening. But she doesn't show up. When he calls her, she's sobbing on the phone. Her mother's ring is missing. It was a family heirloom, and it's been gone since his friends crashed there. She doesn't know what to say to her mom, and she doesn't want to live like this anymore. Suspecting one of the boys, Hugo starts a fight and takes it too far as usual. Mara steps in to save the boy and confesses she has the ring. He takes it from her and goes straight to Baby's, almost breaking the door. The girls scream inside, afraid of him in such a state. Baby opens up when she says he has the ring. She can see what he has done to get it back. A week later, Hugo is in court again for having assaulted Mr. Santamaria. Rafaela chases Baby outside and demands an apology. She had promised her daughter would help him, but she has just lied under oath. Baby says she should stop making promises on her behalf. She also says Hugo is more than a boyfriend. He is her best chance to avoid becoming like Rafaela. Once they're alone, though, she tells Hugo this was the last time she lied for him, and if he keeps doing whatever he wants, they can't be together. He swears that he'll change. He wants to be with her. Time goes by, and it's the end of the school year. The girls pass their finals and celebrate together, while Paulo and Hugo are secretly returning the dog. On the next day, Baby wants to give her teacher a farewell gift. She is shocked to see Pepito with her. The teacher's protective attitude tells her all she needs to know. She goes to Hugo's place and tells him she needs a break. He can't do stuff like that and not even tell her. Now they are both miserable and alone. Baby's birthday is coming and her parents planned a fancy party for her. Katina says she'll be there after the Siamese race. Danny is devastated to say that it's Gustavo who will take them to the party. When they get there, Gustavo asks Danny's opinion about him asking Baby out. She says her boyfriend will break all the bones in his body. At the Siamese, Katina and Paulo look for Hugo, but he's not there. Mara is with a new guy now and they ask where their coward friend is. Paulo says tonight he's racing on his behalf. And where is Hugo? He's arriving at the fancy party, totally uninvited, but very well dressed. Even had a shower and all. Now is Baby's turn to be on a trance. While they kiss and dance happily, the Siamese race is getting tense. Paulo and Katina have a serious accident. Danny gets the phone call with the horrible news. She tells Baby and Hugo takes her there right away. Katina is hurt, and Paulo didn't make it. Hugo reacts with another violent fit. Baby gives up stopping him and just walks away. He eventually follows her, but she says this is what happens when you ignore all the consequences. Then, she says Paulo's death was his fault too. That's when Hugo hits her. She doesn't need to say anything. He can tell where the line is now, because he has just crossed it. And this is the end. This was a recap of the 2010 movie 3 Steps Above Heaven by Zeta Cinema, starring Mario Casas and Maria Valverde. So, what do you think of this ending? What would you have done different if you were Baby or Hugo? Let us know in the comments below with #CinemaRecap. Until next time.